Today's guest is Isaac Hobbs. Isaac is a journeyman lineman who works at West Florida Electric Co-op. He's been in this industry for close to 5 years now. Isaac, welcome to the show.
How y'all doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Good.
Good. So I want to start out by asking you where you're from and what your life was like growing up.
I'm from Cottonwood, Alabama. I grew up in Rehoboth up until 7th grade. 7th grade, I moved to Cottonwood, next town over. Graduated in 2020, and 2 weeks later went to Wallace, lineman program. I left Wallace a week early and started my first job, so didn't have much of a break between, graduation and work. Life growing up, it was pretty good. I never had it on a golden spoon. Nothing was ever given to me, but I've always cared for and always had what I needed.
When'd you know you wanted to be a lineman? Did you always want to be like a lineman, or did that come later?
So, through school, you always have them career fairs. Everybody come talk to you. Military was always my biggest thing. Always wanted to go the military route. To this day, I still praise the military. Very thankful for the men and women who go out there and do what they do. But it was about the summer, I guess you could say, of 9th and 10th grade. I was riding down the road and, seeing some guys out working. That'd be pretty cool, But I was still talking to the recruiter because he would come to school every now and then, check in with guys who was wanting to be recruited. And I was talking to him, and I was like, man, I'm just thinking I want to do line work. And I just, since 10th grade, just knew I wanted to do it. Nobody in my family does it. I'm the first one, and it just come out of the blue, really, I guess.
So were you always interested in, working outside with your hands and all from, a young age? Or?
Absolutely. We, small town, not far from Dothan, but there really ain't a whole lot to do for kids our age. So Cottonwood's a big farming town. So if you worked in high school, you worked on the farm. And somebody you knew, I think I graduated with 60 people. So somebody you knew in their family, ran a farm. So it's about all we done.
So was farming one of your first jobs, or did you ever work anything else?
No, that's my first job.
Yeah.
I farmed up until high school. 11th grade, I started co-oping. I'd leave school every day. I think in 11th grade was 12:21 to be exact. So I'd miss 4th and 5th period. And then I'd go work. Senior year, I left at 10:30 every day.
What were you usually doing on the farm?
We row cropped peanuts and cotton. He didn't really get cows till after I graduated. I always tried to talk him into getting cows. He didn't want the headache, and then I guess he ventured off to it. But
when the cattle prices started going up,
I reckon, yeah. But peanuts and cotton. Summertime we play with watermelons a little bit. I'd get up in the morning in summertimes and we'd load gooseneck trailer full of watermelons. By 2:30 we was headed to Birmingham farmers market. So I'd load them all and unload them all and come back and load them all back up again. It was fun. We stayed on the move. I enjoyed it.
So what does the process look like when you have to apply for the lineman school, and then what does the lineman school look like?
So Wallace tends to stay pretty backed up for a while. Thankfully, I had a teacher, shout out Miranda Glover. She helped me out a lot. So beginning of my senior year, I was already enrolled for the class in June, a year early. If you don't tend to enroll early, you won't go to school when you would like to go to school. You'd probably be on the waiting list because it tends to stay pretty backed up. But she had everything, her and me and my family, she helped us get everything kind of lined up, so we were able to do that ahead of time.
How old were you when you started that process?
18.
18?
Just graduated.
Yeah.
So what does each day in lineman school look like?
You come in not knowing anything. So get there, your first couple of weeks you're going over your equipment, just learning what everything is, everything operates, and it moves on. See, Wallace is a shorter program. They have much longer. And I say better schools because they're longer schools. Mm-hmm. But better schools, Wallace, it's 8-week program, and they teach you everything you need to know, but they don't go as deep into everything as I think they should.
Yeah.
But, your first week to 2 weeks, learning equipment, learning material, learning how everything works. Then your next 2 weeks is learning how to climb, how to work off of the hooks, what to do up there. Then the next 2 weeks is basically bettering your craft, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Then you also go into details with OSHA 30, which is safety stuff, and then you'll have different companies come in, talk to the guys, kind of a scout day almost.
Yeah.
You know, come out, see who they may want to hire,
Yeah.
something along that nature. Wallace will also venture out a little bit and try and help you get your CDLs, because CDLs plays a big part in line work.
Oh, yeah.
And it's where a lot of companies will kind of pick one guy over another due to a CDL. But yeah, you go through Wallace, get your climb certificate is basically what it is. Your pre-apprenticeship certificate. And a lot of companies, as far as West Florida, Wiregrass, your cooperatives and your power companies, like you to have a climb certificate before you join or get that job. But a lot of guys, when they come out of a climbing school, they go straight to contract work. Contract work is a company who works for another company doing the same type of work. For example, West Florida has Lee Electric right now, contract for us, doing some work for us. It's the same work, just different company. But a lot of guys tend to come out, get on with a contractor, learn their experience, get as much experience as they can, travel. Obviously, contractor, you're going to travel, work a lot of storms, and then try and get on back home. Because these jobs back home, guys, once you get there, you don't leave. You're there 30, 40 years, depending on what age you get there, And there's definitely a lot of new guys moving in, so it's a tough fight to try and get on local.
What does the difference look like in working for a contractor versus working for a co-op?
Line work across the board is about safety, but contractor is safety and production. They get paid per production, so day in and day out, you're working from 6 to 5 or whatever your hours may be. Them guys are wide open and getting it done. Co-op it's a little bit slower paced. We come in, get our work, a little more planned out, and it's not so wide open. I mean, we still get after it, and we get after it definitely when we need to, but it's not. We don't get paid for production.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's a little bit slower paced.
What did your path look like when you left school? Like, where did you go work at immediately after?
When I left Wallace, my first job was out of Jasper, Alabama, contracting for Alabama Power. And, I was 18. I didn't mind the traveling. It was fun. I'm glad I did it looking back. Man, my fourth weekend, we went to New Jersey.
Wow.
I've never drove to New Jersey, but there I went off, 18 years old. It was fun. I was 22 minutes from New York, what's it called? Times Square.
Times Square.
Yeah. I was 22 minutes from Times Square. It was fun. Left Wallace, went to Jasper. We kind of bounced around from town to town, depending on where. I've worked in Jasper, Tuscaloosa, Demopolis, Mobile, Thomasville, Storms, you name it, we've been there. Went to Louisiana several times, been in New Jersey several times, Connecticut, Massachusetts.
What all types of work were you doing in each of these towns, like New Jersey, for instance?
So New Jersey was a winter storm. After the snow brings ice frees everything up, and it's a hazard just like hurricanes are here. It's the same idea, same principle. Lines get froze up, everything gets froze up, things tear up. So it's just power restoration.
Yeah.
Did we have any of that with the snowstorm we had recently?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
It didn't get as bad as we all thought it was going to get, but it got pretty rough. They shut us down for a little while due to hazards of driving on the road.
What effects to, like, just the power lines or anything to do with power did the snow have here?
So, just like real windy days. So when these trees ice over and it's still windy, they get heavy. Just like all these pines that fall over during hurricanes, ice do the same thing to them. So trees will fall, old equipment due to fail, maybe because frozen. It's when everything freezes up, it just tends to tear up.
Yeah. Is there some stuff that's like not built for those temperatures, or is it?
So on several systems, there's still copper wire, like primary wire, ran instead of ACSR. And copper wire don't tend to like that weight, so when that copper wire freezes, it tends to break a lot. Thankfully here at West Florida, we don't have that. But and your smaller old rotten wire, when it tends to freeze, it'll give out.
That's what I was wondering, is like all these big snowstorms up north and stuff. How do they handle it, like with the lines and stuff like that?
Right. It's it's a nightmare. Like hurricanes are a nightmare,
Yeah.
snowstorms are their nightmare,
Mhm.
and it's getting around. That's a big deal too. You take a lot of guys from South Alabama or Florida, and you send us to the snow. We don't ever see snow. When I was up there working in it, don't know where we're at.
Yeah.
So don't know where we're going. We're strictly off GPS. Well, this road has however many feet of snow. I mean,
Everything's white. You can't
Right,
see where
right.
you're at.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you a story, man. One time my foreman told me to walk around here and check this meter. Well, the snow is probably, 4 foot. I was walking on the road. Well, I stepped off in a deep ditch, and that snow went chest to me. My buddy had to help dig me out. Just 'cause you can't see where you're going, you know what I'm saying?
It all looks level until you step on
Right,
it.
right.
Did you have any mentors in the lineman industry starting out?
Starting out contract work, man, there's so many people who comes and goes. So I definitely had mentors, but I had several because
Yeah.
it was me and one guy never worked together for a long period of time. And like I said, I've been doing this for a little over 5 years, so it's not too long. But there was some good guys I learned from, and I'm thankful for what they did teach me.
Yeah.
So you're a journeyman. Can
Right.
you explain to, I guess, the everyday viewer what journeyman means?
A journeyman lineman is somebody who can go out and complete a task, regardless of what that task may be. So, like an apprentice, you have different levels of apprentice and you have different levels of journeyman. Like your level 1 apprentice is going to be just off the street, don't know too much, definitely needs to be taken care of. Level 2, he's probably been in a year, 6 months to a year, I'd say. And some guys learn better than others.
Yeah.
6 months to a year, he's clipped his wings a little bit, but he's still not flying. 2 years, 2.5 years, he's pretty good. Just keep your eyes on him. And then 3 years to 4 years, them guys are typically about ready to take off. Then your level 1 journeyman, they can do any task that you ask them to do.
So what happens, is there any changes as you go from an apprentice to a journeyman?
Absolutely. Responsibility, what you are asked to do. As a apprentice, you're going to have a journeyman beside you day in and day out. But as a journeyman, you may say if you're pulling call on the weekends, you're asked to go out by yourself and observe the situation, find the problem and fix the problem with nobody over your shoulder. So I feel like taking a journeyman role, pulling call, it's something goes wrong, it's on you.
Yeah. So do you ever have times where you don't know what to do, or have you pretty much made it to a point where you have a good idea of in different situations?
You never know it all. And don't never think you know it all. It's never be too good to call anybody. And there's still situations where, everybody gets stumped.
Yeah.
There's just some days it's how's that happen? Why is that happening? Everybody gets together and scratches their head, and we all come upon it, and we figure it out and fix it. But day in and day out, I feel like I've gotten pretty good at troubleshooting and dialing it down to what I think the issue is, but everybody gets stumped.
Yeah. What's a typical day at West Florida at the co-op look like for you?
A typical day at West Florida, come in, we get our work, whether it be building a new construction for a new house, or if it's a day of maintenance, going out and replacing poles that may be going bad before, it's an outage. Get together, get the job, get to work, go out, we'll plan it, go over it, work, get it done. Sometimes several jobs done before lunch. We go take our lunch, come back, and just, if we hadn't finished it up, finish it up.
Mm-hmm.
So you had talked about how one of the things is changing out new poles.
Right.
How do you know when it's time to change out one?
You know it's time to change one out when a lot of times you can look at a pole, top may be cracked, a car may hit it, or equipment, just older equipment due to maintenance. And a lot of issues we're having today is height. AT&T is coming around, new cable companies coming around, farming equipment's getting bigger, getting taller, so we constantly have to go up. So we also have guys who come through there like a contractor, and they come through Osmos and inspect all the poles.
So how do you prepare for a day on the job?
First things first, prepare mentally. You got to leave your home life at home and pick up your work life when you walk in. Summertime, it's prepared by hydration. You know,
Yeah.
it's hot, and water matters.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just not drink any water, go out here and sweat all day. You won't never make it. But hydration, mentally prepared.
Do you see a lot of people make mistakes in that area?
As far as hydration, yes. So, I mean, some guys, you know, want to lay out on the weekends, come in Monday morning, it might be a long day. You can tell who hydrated and who didn't. You know, in July, August, the dog days of summer.
Mm-hmm. What is the most exciting part about your role right now?
For me, man, it's just going on storm and, you know, working days in and days out and finally getting the power on. It's seeing the customers happy is a happy feeling.
Rewarding.
Right, very rewarding.
So let's talk about what storm work looks like, say when a hurricane comes in or a tornado. Do y'all have to travel a lot, or is it local?
It's contractors are going to travel far and wide to where they got to go. So I got on with the co-op. We tend to travel, you know, to the surrounding areas. There is an area where everybody tries to help everybody. So if anybody gets hit, everybody goes.
Yeah.
But, you know, we roll in, and depending on how bad the storm is, everything's tore up, you know. Lines down, trees down, everything's down. Again, don't know where we're going, don't know where we're at. But we get there and we meet up with one of their local guys, and we call him a bird dog. And our crew gets with their guys. Their bird dog stays with us the whole time. So it's essentially we have like that's why they call him a bird dog. But
Yeah.
essentially we got a guy leading us around, showing us where it feeds from, how it works, you know, what we need to do, and so on and so forth. So you're taken care of to an extent, but he lets us go and do our thing. But yeah, everything's, depending on how bad a storm is, everything's tore up.
Yeah.
What's probably the worst storm you've been on?
Hurricane Laura in 2020. I just got in line work, went to Louisiana. It was Lake Charles, Louisiana, and I was over 32 days, and it was kapowed. It was pretty rough over there.
So what did that look like as for you and what you were having to do?
You know, I was 18 years old. You know, I just graduated, just got in line work, and whenever on storm and seen, you know, how serious it is and how serious it could be, and how really important the job kind of was, because you aren't just here day in and day out doing maintenance on lines. You're also out there helping other people.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing that people don't see. You know, everybody thinks it's about the money. Well, I mean, you make good money. But for me, it's more about helping. It's the unforgotten first responders. Because them people's houses and their families and their cousins or whoever it may be, you know, they just may have lost their house. They don't have any power. So finally, when they do get power back, it's a little bit of back to normal for them. Because, I mean, their roof may be leaking water. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
What was the process like getting that restored in Louisiana?
So as a company, you know, you go with several guys, and then you all kind of split up, and everybody kind of works their way together and meet in the middle.
Yeah.
So these guys will be on this, and these guys will be on this, and these guys will be on this. And eventually everybody works together, and by the time everybody's done, that whole area would be back to normal. Several days of climbing. You know, everybody asks, typically these days you don't have to climb as much as they used to back in the day, because we've made everything, or they worked back then to make it as easy as it could be to get to a bucket truck with it now. Very thankful for that. But there are days where you still can't get to a pole and you have to climb it. And it turns, you know, maybe an hour and a half job into a 4-hour job.
So when hurricanes and tornadoes come through, you've got trees down on the road, power lines down. So are y'all cleaning up partially some of the trees too to make it through, or how does that work?
So local, yes, we definitely tend to do as much as we can to get everything back to normal as quick as we can. If it feels like it's out of our means, it'd be faster for like maybe the county to come in.
Yeah.
We will call the county and have them help us out. But a lot of times, if we see it feasible, we can do it faster and quicker and go ahead and get our job done, we're going to go ahead and do so.
So I know a lot of people say, like, as soon as a hurricane comes through, families are trying to clean up their yards and stuff, and they might want to go to the gas station if they need gas for their generator or something.
Right.
And how should they handle leaving their house when there's
You don't know if there's lines
Yeah.
down or stuff like that.
Just be cautious, because, I mean, weather than lines, it could be anything down. You know what I'm saying? It could be trampoline in the road, but definitely be cautious and definitely never touch it.
Yeah.
Never get around it. If you do see a down line, call your local power company and let them notify them and let them make a mark on it, because it could be very serious.
Yeah.
What would you say so far has been the biggest lesson you've learned being a lineman?
You never know it all. And there has been guys doing it way longer than you, and if they're giving you any advice, the best thing would be to do is take it, because they've been in your shoes, they know what you're thinking, and they've been through it. So just 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen to what they're telling you, and just be productive on what they're saying.
So you said there's like, you have the climbing certification. Are there any other certifications to become a lineman?
Well, CDL,
Yeah.
it's not a certification, but it's a big deal. You have to have a CDL to drive our trucks.
Mhm.
You can get crane certifications, like derrick truck certifications, in order to operate and so on and so forth. But really, all you need is a CDL and a climbing certificate, and you don't have to have a climbing certificate. But most of your local cooperatives and companies would like you to have one, requires you to have one.
So do you get your CDL at Wallace, or how'd you have to go about getting that?
So I got mine back in 2020, and that's before they updated the laws. Now you have to go to actual truck driving school to get a CDL. But Wallace they would go over like CDL classes with you, would help you demonstrate on how you would practice taking your test, and then they would let you use their truck to go up there and take your test. But now, yes, you do have to go to a trucking school to get your CDL now.
So how does that play into your pathway of becoming a lineman? Do you do that before you go into lineman school, or how do most people do that?
A lot of guys will leave Wallace with just their permit. Your permit's just like your driver license permit. You can go up there and take an online test and get it. But it's kind of, what a lot of guys run into is if you can't get your driver license while you're in Wallace, well, you can't do it anymore now because, like I said, you have to go to school.
Yeah.
But if you couldn't get your driver license while you're in Wallace, you're kind of in a bind because you don't have a truck unless you know somebody to use to go up there to drive to get your driver license.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, a lot of guys will just have a permit, get hired on, and several companies will give everybody, a time frame. Hey, you got this long to get your driver's license or your CDLs.
Yeah.
What's a misunderstanding about line work that people may not understand or think about?
Just because you flip your switch don't mean your power should come on. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and just because your neighbors have lights don't mean you should have lights. Everything, your average person don't understand how it works, don't understand what all plays into it. Everything's fed from all different kinds of ways, and so y'all could even be feeding off the same transformer, and your service may have a fault with it, but theirs don't.
Yeah.
And it's not all about the money. If you don't enjoy what you do, you may not make it.
Could you explain how that light comes on?
So a transmission line comes in to a substation, and the substation breaks that transmission voltage into distribution voltage. The distribution voltage is what you see riding down the side of the road on the poles. Well, on a pole, there will be a transformer, and that transformer turns that electricity into primary voltage and the secondary voltage. And leaving that transformer will be service wire. I'm not going to go into all the sizes, but service wire going into your meter. And then our meter reads how much electricity you're pulling, and off the bottom side of that meter is your wires that goes into your house. So from the substation, or from the transmission lines to the substation, from the substation to the distribution lines, from the distribution lines to the transformer, from the transformer to the secondary wires, from the secondary wires into your house.
Do the size of the wires play into how much power they're going to need in that specific, say, building or house?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot bigger house will have bigger power or bigger wires and more needed than a smaller house. So, like, a Dollar General is going to need a 3-pot bank versus your standard house is just going to need a single transformer.
Yeah. That makes sense. Can you go through some of the equipment that you use on the day to day, and I guess how it operates?
Bucket truck, that's our main deal. It has two outriggers on each side. Set the truck up, stabilize the truck for when you're 40, 50 feet in the air. The side load doesn't tip the truck over. That bucket truck has an insulated boom, has an insulated bucket liner in it, and then you're also wearing your rubber gloves and rubber sleeves. Rubber gloves and sleeves get tested every 6 months, so we know they're good. Insulated jib on the truck, so we'll go up there to the pole. Say we're gonna change a pole out, move a phase. We'll cover it up with rubber goods, blankets, hoses. We'll take that line, energized line, and put it in the insulated jib and pull it back out of the way. So there's several different insulated parts on a bucket truck to make it to where everything is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? You'll be at one potential. And that's key in line work, is being at one potential. That being said, you still can mess up and things still can go wrong. That's why your mind has to be right. But there's so much that goes into it to where it's pretty safe.
How much has the safety equipment evolved that you're aware of?
It's come a long ways. Like, there's guys at the co-ops now who never had a jib on the truck, never had a jib with a winch on it. So I'm saying, so they learned how to come up doing things their way, and now we come up with a jib with a rope on it, and we're able to do things a different way, a much easier way. But it's another big thing with safety is these battery power tools. It used to, it was you were cutting with cutters and squeezing things up with pop tools. Now battery powered, and you were drilling holes in the pole with a hand bit.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? So battery power tools have come a long ways.
Yeah, I remember because I've been doing some videos for the co-op recently, and they were talking about how much the equipment's changed over the years.
Right,
Even
right.
since some of the guys that work there now,
Right.
they were saying like a bunch of the older guys have had like elbow surgeries and shoulder
and this and that.
surgeries.
Because you got to think, man, for 30 years, say if you're cutting wire, that big around all day with cutters, your elbows are going to give out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And tamping the ground. And
Tamping, yeah. Hydraulics come a long way, just like them bucket trucks.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely, the industry's definitely come a long way, and it's constantly getting better.
So are the co-ops pretty good about keeping up with the industry changes and technology and stuff?
Absolutely. Everybody tries to stay on board and make it as best for their guys,
You talked about a little bit about the mental side of it a while ago. What kind of physical
Toll.
Yeah, what kind of physical toll does it take on you? And like, do you like work out? Do you do anything like that to stay in shape for the job?
I do. Me personally, I do lift in the afternoons during the week. On the weekends, I try to get on the weekends, but don't always play. But yeah, it's just, I'm still young, so I'm still very active. Yeah. And see, line work, typically it's the longer you're in it, it's just like any other career, you move up. Well, the longer you in it, the less you tend to have to do. So it always seems like the younger guys are always carrying most of the load, most of the weight. Mm-hmm. And that's how it should be, because they've paid their dues, they've done their time, need to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. So, but as far as staying in shape, yes, I do work out, but it's not required. I mean, we have several guys at the co-op who don't work out, and they still make it.
Yeah.
Is working out a mental thing for you too?
Yes, that's honestly it's why I go. It's like a I don't even know how to describe it. It's definitely a mental thing though. If I walked out the gym feeling like I did when I walked in, I probably wouldn't go. But I walk out feeling 100 times better than I do when I walk in. Yeah. Regardless of how my workout went.
For sure.
I just feel better.
Mm-hmm.
How do you stay motivated on the tough days you have?
I stay motivated on the tough days because I know nothing's ever handed to you. Nobody owes you anything. If you want it, you have to go get it. And like I said earlier, I wasn't raised up bad, but never had a golden spoon in my mouth. I always had what I needed. But I also know what I want in life, so I know when it gets tough, you got to keep rolling, keep the train rolling. It can't. If you quit, life quits. Some of my goals would be to find some land and build a house, have a family, raise some kids. That's definitely try and be as debt free as soon as I can.
Yeah.
That's about everybody's goal.
Mm-hmm.
Safety is the key from when you enter that vehicle to drive it to the road, or whether you're working at the job site. Mentality, you got to stay safe, because anything could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be walking through this field to go check this pole, and you slip in a hole. You know what I'm saying? Anything could happen. But definitely, yeah, you pay a little more attention when you want a little more from life. So yeah, I would say so.
That's really good. I like that.
How do you balance your work and family life? Because I know as a lineman, I mean, there's sometimes you can be gone for a while,
Right, and I don't have any kids, but shout out to all the wives who do take on that toll when we leave, and everybody praises the linemen when they go out these long times and work all these storms and do this and that. But these linemen still have family back home, and somebody's got to get the ball rolling. And these wives, I mean, they do a big job and play a big part on taking care of what needs to be taken care of. But me personally, it's just, I mean, it's a mental thing. Whether you work all night and work all day, you still got to be aware, pay attention. You still got to drive. I mean, it's definitely something you got to be mentally prepared for.
So what's the conditions like when you go off on storm and have to stay for, like you said, like 30 days or something like that?
As a contractor, when you get sent on a storm, you tend to stay until the storm's done. Whether it be 2 weeks, 4 weeks. They set up what they call staging areas, man camps, and there's no telling how many guys there, but it'll all be typically volunteer work, and these companies will come in and set up big tents, kind of like you're at a fair, and they'll cook food, breakfast. They'll have you breakfast, lunch, and supper, but you'll come in a single file line. You'll get your food, you'll sit down and eat, and they also have like campers, and in these campers will be 6, 7, 8 beds on each side everybody kind of bunks together, and they also have campers set up with showers in them. So, I mean, you leave your camper, go in there, wait on a shower. If you ain't got to wait on a shower, go in there and get in the shower, but everybody showers in the same shower, Then they also have some laundromats set up to where if it is, 30-day storms, you're not constantly having to figure out how you're going to wash your clothes, go to a laundromat. You can drop it off, say that night before you go to sleep, and typically when you wake up, it's washed. Mm-hmm. Your bag will be named, tagged, and numbered with all your information on it, so you know whose is whose. It's pretty nice. It's come a long way, and they do a lot for us, because they don't have to do that.
Yeah. What do the hours look like during the day?
16-hour days. You typically work before the sun comes up till the sun goes down, and there really ain't no time for fun or nowhere for fun, considering everything is tore up. You get up, you go work, you come in, you eat, shower, and you go to bed. Typically, everybody's too tired to want to work anyways.
Yeah.
Or want to go out and do whatever anyways,
Yeah. Probably not much to do anyways.
Right, yeah, there ain't much to do when everything's tore up, yeah.
What do you enjoy most about being a lineman?
I enjoy the morale, what I'm saying? It's fun. The guys are fun to be around. We have I think it's a fun job. I enjoy what I do. Serious work. It's fun work. It's rewarding work. Just knowing, I'm making a difference. And it's not making a difference as far as what the aspect that most people would think, but if you ever cut somebody's power off and cut it back on, you'll understand what I'm talking about.
They're real thankful.
Yes, they are thankful, yes.
One thing I've heard a lot of people say is that if you're working for a contractor, you've got short-term community, but if you're working for a co-op, you've got long-term community. Can you talk a little more on that?
Right. So typically, whenever you do finally make it on the co-op, unless for whatever crazy reason something happens, you don't tend to leave. Contractors jump jobs, so much because they may finish this job today in Graceville, and they may leave tomorrow and go to Perry, Florida. Well, you may not want to go to Perry, so you're going to go contract for Wiregrass right down the road and work for them. So it just contractors, the guys come in and go out so quick because they're constantly moving unless the contract job you're on is there for a long period of time.
Yeah.
So a lot of times in the co-op, like when the linemen get hired on, they'll be a lineman for so many years, and just like any other job, people move up the ladder. Well, a lot of guys will leave the lineman position and go to foreman, be foreman for so many years, and they may leave the foreman position and go into the safety department, or they could leave safety department or leave foreman spot and go into the staking department. So there's ways to kind of get them out of the field as they get older and time moves on, and into kind of different positions to where they're not constantly out here working in the field, at 60 years old, say.
Do you have a certain position you'd like to see yourself get to?
Me personally, I don't ever want to leave the field. I just like being outside. I like being with the guys. I like to work. If I ever make it to foreman, I'd like to stop there, but I'd be fine with just making it lead lineman. Yeah. Lead lineman, it's still kind of the position where he can teach all the younger guys. He's still a part of all the teaching and the doing. He still does the work, but don't have the foreman responsibilities, you know what I'm saying? But still can do everything the foreman can do, but still has his hands on in the pot doing all the work.
So as a journeyman, are you doing a lot of teaching now to, like, say, the younger guys coming in?
I wouldn't say a whole lot of teaching, but from me being from the contract perspective, I've seen different ways to do things than what the guys who's only been at the co-op can do it. So I wouldn't say I'm teaching them, exactly how to do their job, but I would say I kind of show them different ways to how to do it.
Yeah.
Because there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat,
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely different ways to do it.
What advice would you have to people thinking, like, maybe they're in high school thinking about going into line work? How should they go about doing that?
I would definitely start practicing your CDL, figuring out how to get it, and figuring out where you can go to a climbing school at, because like I said, there's several. But yeah, get your CDL, get on the climbing school. If you can't get on the climbing school, find a contractor. Go ahead and get on the job, because the best learning is hands-on learning.
What do you think the most important skill is to have being a lineman?
Knowing how to quickly adapt is what I would say, because things can go different very, very quickly, and sometimes you got to learn how to think fast. Mm-hmm. And being able to work in all conditions, that's definitely a skill. And being able to put a lot of your mental problems to the side and focus on the job is also another big skill.
What's some hazards to the job people may not think about? Like I know you mentioned the other day, you're talking about cars, like traffic.
Right. Traffic is a big one, man. There's been 4 or 5 pedestrians hit by a vehicle like in the last 2 weeks. I don't know if y'all have seen that or not, but we'll be on the side of the road and all you see is somebody riding by like this, just driving, not even paying attention. Mm-hmm. Everybody sees them signs and don't do nothing for them. But definitely traffic. We set up MOT, DOT, set up cones, signs, trucks off the road, and people just don't slow down. Traffic's a big deal. Luckily, we tend to stay out here in the country a good bit, but there's county roads, right? But there's a lot of companies who strictly work in the city. So it's another ball game than what we got going on, but it's definitely a big deal.
Are there any other hazards other than traffic that you look out for?
To the job? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Snakes. I don't like snakes. No, there's several different hazards, and overhead load. You don't want anything overhead because everything's man-made. Anything can fail. Electricity, you definitely got to watch what you're doing.
So when you see the good people like you're talking about, that when their power comes back on, how thankful they are, is that rewarding to you?
Oh, absolutely. And it's kids in the yard playing, and it's just everybody's thank you and, cheering, clapping, and it don't matter who you are or where you're from, everybody's just as friendly as they could be. Mm-hmm. And it's very rewarding, yes.
Yeah, that's one thing you're talking about, because as a lineman, you have to deal with customers too sometimes. Right. They'll come out and talk to you, hey, right. What's going on? Like, a lineman has to be have to play a lot of different roles. Right,
and like I said, as you work up that ladder, you asked earlier, what other responsibilities do you have? You only have more responsibilities. It's like the foreman, he tends to deal with the customer, set up the job briefings, lay the job out, make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. We're doing what we need to be doing, watching us, and he's kind of the crew foreman of any job sites definitely always has his head on a swivel because there is so much going on.
If you could go back to when you first started line school, what's something you would tell yourself?
Something I would tell myself would be say a little less, do a little more. And I don't mean that isn't like I'm a mouthy guy because I'm not, but just work, and stay moving, and take it all in. You know, really pay attention to when somebody's showing you something, because the guys who really stand out are the guys who you can show somebody something one time and they got it. You know, that's when somebody really stands out. And I'm that way about some things, but some things I just don't get. And you got to show me 5, 6, 7 times. But just pay a little more attention to detail at the things when I first started to help me out in my career, you know, a little bit down the road, so I wasn't spending so much time trying to learn it then, you know, if that makes any sense.
Is that a common mistake you see in young linemen coming up?
These days, yeah, and like I said, everybody's different. Everybody learns a little different. But I feel like this next generation coming up, man, that's just feels like every year something's going out. Like social media is at an all-time high, and cell phones and then this and that. So I mean, they all come out, you know, wanting to play and this and that, and it's time to be serious.
Yeah.
And there's a time to play. We play all day long, but when it's time to get serious, it's, you know, we get after it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you enjoy doing outside of work?
I like to hunt and fish and just be on the river. Really, it's like I said, work out a little bit, but typically if it's summertime and the sun's shining, we're on the water, or if it's wintertime and freezing cold, and we're on the water trying to shoot some ducks.
Mm.
So is duck hunting the main hunting you do, or do you like anything else?
Yeah, I like to duck hunt, deer hunt a little bit, but I feel like just deer hunting's an old man sport. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
I turkey hunt a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know a whole lot about turkeys. I didn't turkey hunt growing up,
Yeah.
but I'm getting there. I'm starting to enjoy it, or I've been enjoying it, but I'm starting to learn. I'm starting to really try and tie it down. But yeah, duck hunting, man, me and my buddies will get up and hit the road and go get after them.
Do you like to hunt like rivers or private stuff, or what you like to do?
Unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of private land we're able to hunt. I mean, we do around the house. But yeah, we'll get up and go to Arkansas several times a year, and we hunt public rivers, you know, wherever they may be is wherever we try and get at.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of good guys from other states, you know doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So what does it mean to you to be a lineman?
Being a lineman is more than just a career, and it's more than just work. You know, I mean, obviously you're gonna have that hard attitude about you. You know, that go getter, and I got it. You know, I can do it at your job, but out of the job, it's, you know, you see that 70-year-old woman carrying groceries out of the grocery store by herself. You're gonna help her out. You're gonna put her groceries in there for her, or you know what I'm saying, somebody's broke down on the side of the road. It may be raining. You're gonna stop and help them. You're gonna stop and change that tire. It's more than just on the job. It's a way you carry yourself and how you act in and outside of your job. That's what it's about.
So what's that like being on call?
So our hours are from 6:30 to 5 Monday through Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So your call schedule is 5 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. anytime Monday through Thursday. But Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, your call schedule is all day. So whether it's 1 o'clock in the morning and it's snowing, or 2 p.m. and the sun's shining, if you get a call, you got to go. You know, go out, assess the scene. Every time you're on call with 2 guys. You'll have a lead man and you'll have a helper. If it's something them 2 guys can get together and do and fix, you know, we'll fix it. But if it's more than we can handle, just say like a broke pole and need more material, what have you, just something you made a little more backup, then they'll call in some help.
So how do y'all rotate call? How much are you on call each month, kind of thing?
It's I think it's a 6-week rotation, and it averages, or it varies depending on how many guys are on what call list, but every 6th week. And some guys, you know, can pull call more than others if they choose to, or, you know, give call away because, you know, life happens and something may come up on your call time. But you can't hardly get call because everybody wants it. So it's very easy to give away.
So is it a week that you're on?
Right, it's a week from
Okay.
Thursday to Thursday.
Okay, and then 6 weeks, and then you're on it
Right,
again.
right.
Does the pay change when you're on call?
Yes. So you'll get 10 hours of standby pay. And then for every call out, it's a minimum 2-hour call out. So if I leave my house and, and I work 30 minutes and get back to the house, that's 2 hours. But now every company is different. Every company negotiates it different, and every company has their own thing. So that's just for what we do. But yes, you definitely, anything after hours on call is overtime.
Yeah.
But you do get a standby, a flat 10 hours for just being on call.
Yeah. Is it typically pretty hard or to get on with a co-op, or how does that work?
I would say it depends on your area, and just like anything else in life, depends on who you know.
Yeah.
Typically, if you know somebody, then you get help a lot. I mean, life's all about who you know.
Mm-hmm.
But like I hit on earlier, typically somebody comes in, they're not going to leave until they retire. And I mean, if you have a bunch of younger guys at just say your local co-op, you typically don't have a whole lump sum, a bunch of young guys. But if you have a pretty fresh crew, just say, 10 years in, they're going to be there a while.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not, snap your finger and I got a job. It's definitely something that everybody wants and not everybody gets, and I'm thankful to have it.
Are you always in the bucket, or do you do other roles as well?
We tend to kind of do it all. We don't. My crew is basically full of linemen, so we don't. Nobody has a role. Nobody's the bucket man, or you're the operator, or you're the shoveler. Everybody plays their part, and we all get after it. If you jump up there and you decide to do this pole, then I'll do the groundwork. I don't mind, and we all have that mentality. So it's kind of a good thing having everybody on your crew open mind, not too prideful, thinking they're too good to do anything. Because, I sit there side by side with my foreman and shovel. It's everybody's willing to get after it, and that's what makes a good crew.
So it's kind of like y'all just pull up to the repair, to the new service, and y'all just decide from there who wants to take it.
Right, and it's really not much deciding. It's just somebody, hey, he's getting in at this one, then the next one, I get, or if he just feeling like getting after all of them that day, then he may do that. But we tend not let each other do that, especially in the summertime. We'll make sure we swap out.
Yeah. What part's your favorite to do?
I would probably say changing out poles. I like some of the heavier stuff. I like more some of the serious work. It's hooking up new meters and all. It's got to be done, but it kind of gets competitive. You get there and you hang a pot and pull a service, and it can all get complacent. You can't let it get complacent. But I like changing out poles because it's kind of a different pole, a different structure, a different setup. I mean, it's always different. Different location, right? It's always something different. So I just like changing out poles and some of the more serious work.
Yeah. I'm sure it makes it easier to keep coming back to it when you have something different every single time.
Right.
So when a co-op brings in contractors, what does that look like?
So we bring contractors in, and the co-op does, say, like 5-year plans, 10-year plans. Y'all asked earlier about the pole change-outs. We may have a list of things that need to be done, and the co-op still has to carry on everyday work as far as our own maintenance and set new meters and so on and so forth. So, like, we may have 3, 4, 5, however many miles of wire that needs to be replaced, upgraded with bigger wire because it's rotting, what have you. Them guys will come in, set all new poles and pull in all new wire while we continue on with our everyday work. So we can kind of hit 2 birds with 1 stone, and that we may have, you asked about when the poles go bad earlier, we may have 2,000 poles need to be changed out. Well, if the co-op stops what they're doing and just changes out poles for days, our work for new construction is going to be backed up for days. You see what I'm saying? So it's hard to tackle everything at one time. So we bring in some more guys to try and keep the ball rolling on several different objects all at one time.
Do you have any stories you can think of that is either just like funny or is like, how in the world did this happen?
I was on call one night, and we have things called cutouts, which is a fuse above a transformer or over a line. It's just like a breaker in your house. It's to protect any device or anything. Well, it flipped open one night. Well, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to go light shine up there, half asleep. Well, I ran that stick up there and got it out, and I was bringing it down. Well, a lot of times, instead of just pulling the stick all the way back down, I just lay the stick over. it's easier. Just pull it off, change it real quick, put the thing back on there, and just bring that stick back up and just lay it back in there. Well, I was laying that stick over, and I wasn't really paying attention. I was making sure I had the stick good, so I didn't just slam it on the ground. Well, I got the stick down, and the barrel was not in the stick. I turned around and looked up. Somehow or another, I had hung the barrel on the neutral wire, and it was just sitting up there. And I don't know how it happened, but it did, and it was weird. You know, I was by myself, so I was like, glad nobody seen that, you know. But yeah, they's different. They's all, man. They's something every day, and you can be doing everything right, and everybody's gonna be like you're doing it wrong, you know, making fun of you. You can't wear your heart on your sleeve out there. We just cut up and crack jokes and have fun all day. You
gotta have thick skin.
That's right, thick skin. And if they know you don't have thick skin,
they're gonna get you.
Right, you're gonna hear about it.
Do you have a memorable moment that made you say, like, man, or think I'm proud to be a lineman?
Yeah, and it goes back to just them storms, man. It's easy to understand unless you've been there. You know, like we may come into a neighborhood on storm to where the whole neighborhood of however many houses don't have power. Well, we may work in there 2, 3, 4, 5 days, and obviously if they don't have power, they're just outside watching us. So on that 4th or 5th day, when you finally are able to heat up that neighborhood, energize that neighborhood, and give everybody electricity back, the neighborhood goes crazy. Louisiana, man, that's some of the nicest people out there. They jambalaya, they bring all kind of stuff, like good food over there. They're thankful for you being there, but they just, when you cut it on, it's a different thankful.
Well, Isaac, we appreciate you coming on the podcast. You've done a great job. I think it's going to be a real great episode.
I appreciate it, fellas, and thank y'all for having me.